Good evening, everybody. Happy new season. The women's season is almost upon us. Unfortunately, we've been hit with some pre-season cancellations. Unfortunately, Carl's got some issues with her cat, so she can't be on tonight. Brian's got some issues with his laptop, and he forgot he walked to the golf club, so couldn't drive home in time to get on his phone. Quite how you forget he didn't take the car, I've got no idea. Obviously, Demi's still in America, so that means it's myself and Alan this evening. Alan, how are you?
I'm very good, thanks. You know, it's nice to be so close to competitive football again, and obviously we started with some competitive football last week, but I first look at how the women are shaping up for a season. You know, it was good to be back.
Yeah, obviously good to be back at the friendly yesterday with Middlesbrough. We'll get to that in a minute or two. But obviously, we've not spoke to you all since the end of last season, the summer breaks. It's got just after the Scottish Cup final, and obviously after the Cup final, Alan, there was a bit of a clear out of players. We knew that Tess, Vic, and Jane were going. Obviously, Tess came over and told us that she was away. Vic was going back to New Zealand, and Jane Ross has retired. Then the one that we'd kind of worked out because she sat on the podium taking it all in, Chelsea Cornet left, and she subsequently signed for, help me out.
She signed for Birmingham City.
Birmingham City, that's where she went. And then not long after that, we lost the manager who went to Crystal Palace. We'll get back to that in a minute. And then just the other day, Kirsty McLean, the jewel in her crown, left to go to Liverpool.
Yeah, it was inevitable that we're going to lose Kirsty at some point, and it's quite unfortunate that we didn't get another season. But Kirsty McLean's far too good to be playing in Scotland. Far too good to be playing in Scotland. So I think it's a really good move. You know, I think Liverpool are making strides in the WSL, and they added Kirsty and then added our own former player, Sam Kerr, who made a loan move permanent. So certainly strengthening their options in the middle, but a massive loss in our midfield, losing both Kirsty McLean and Chelsea Cornet in one summer.
Yeah, and it was we were kind of lamenting on a group chat that we're a bit kind of thin in the midfield. And then out the blue yesterday, we signed Welsh international Alice Griffiths, who's a midfield player. But previous to that, we brought in Fallon Connolly-Jackson, who is a attacking fullback and has to change the name, so I can't call anybody Connolly-Jackson.
Just call her Fallon. But I was absolutely delighted when we announced it would sign Fallon Connolly-Jackson, because I've watched her for Scotland under-19s and under-23s. Been massively impressed by her. I think the fans will absolutely love watching Fallon play. You know, she's a very dynamic, modern fullback. You know, she's aggressive in the tackle. She's aggressive and wanting to go and get the ball in the press. And she's very dangerous going forward. You know, puts an excellent set piece delivery in. I've watched her score direct from corners, and she's not shy either a tackle or getting forward, or indeed taking a shot from distance. So Fallon will very quickly become a fan's favourite, I think.
Yeah, I think Stephen's missed out the word miss, because yes, we certainly will miss Kirsty McLean, Stephen, and good evening, how are you? And also to Blue Teddy, hi, how are you as well? And everybody else that's watching. Don't forget to hit that like button and share and subscribe if you haven't. And obviously, if you want more of this good Rangers talk on the Ramble, we do all sorts of stuff. If you're not already a member, the link should be in the description at the bottom. For as little as $1.99 a month, you can get all sorts of stuff, including Ramble Wrestling, which isn't really my thing. I don't know if it's Alan's, but yeah, we do a bit of that as well. So, as we said, we lost the manager at Crystal Palace. I believe we got some compensation for her, and we'll get to her replacement, who we believe is coming in very soon. But the rumour that Joe's replacement was very close to being announced only came during the game yesterday. But before the game yesterday, I spoke to one or two of the supporters to see how they felt about us not having a manager in place, and if this works.
Right up until probably the last week or so, where I said to myself, it's getting too close for comfort now. I had confidence in Donald in that they knew what they were doing. But there's wee buttons getting made now at the back end. Just it's too close now for to have won.
Donald's got it covered.
I'm really concerned about the new manager coming in because we're near the start of the season and there's just no consistency. There's no any progress being made. But other than that, we just need to see how things go.
Not at the moment, because I think it'll just happen. Because Donald made a good statement about it's just going to take time until we get the right person.
There we go. I didn't mean to put an advert for the app that I use, but anyway. So there you go. There's the thoughts of some people who I know you know them all fairly well. Kind of mixed bag there. You know, Donald's got it covered. There's an awful lot of faith in Donald Gillies know what he's doing, and one fairly concerned that there's no new manager in yet.
I think those clips kind of sum up how generally the fans are feeling. I think anybody who's listened to Donald or had the chance to speak to him themselves will still have a lot of faith in what he's doing. You know, he's done a lot of good work. He's very keen to sort of grow the profile of the team and grow the success of the team. But at the same time, everybody's getting quite nervous. You know, we're getting closer and closer to the start of the season, and no new manager or head coach yet. And you know, that's disappointing. You know, the biggest disappointment for me is I thought it was quite clear from the stands from the majority of last season that Joe was not going to be here this season. So I would have liked the club to have been a bit more on the front foot in terms of forward planning and succession planning and being prepared for Joe leaving.
Yeah, I think we all said consistently last season we expected Joe to probably leave at the end of the season. But when she didn't go at the end of the season, I was a bit, well, maybe she's not going. And obviously it was, it was kind of halfway through the pre-season that it turned out that she was going to Crystal Palace, which a way for her to leave benefited us because we did get some compensation for her, rather than kind of having to pay her off or her walking out or whatever. So yeah, as you say, you would have thought there would have been some succession planning. Now it did break after I recorded those videos yesterday. It did kind of, the rumour mill started at Broadwood that the new manager was just about to get announced sometime this week. The players are away to Italy today, playing 2 behind closed doors games in Milan. One of which I believe might be getting streamed. The other one there's absolutely no chance of, but we'll wait and see what happens. It'd be nice if we could watch them. And the new manager's apparently going to be meeting them in Italy. And the big rumour in the street, Alan, is its current Glasgow City assistant manager and BBC TV pundit Leanne Crichton.
That rumour certainly caught fire, and I think she was somebody that would have been mentioned amongst the support. You know, she's somebody relatively high profile in the women's game in Scotland, so certainly a name I heard bandied about early on when Joe left. I think it's a name I'd probably heard more of had it been during the season. You know, and we've been around a lot of fans at the games, but an interesting choice if that's how it turns out. You know, much like Joe, she's no direct management experience. You know, Paul's right. You know, she's never been a head coach or manager in her own right, much like Joe. You know, but Leanne Crichton is probably as close as you'll get to being a Glasgow City legend. So she knows the Scottish scene. She knows the game very well. We've seen her on BBC, on punditry, on both men's and women's games, and you know she clearly knows her stuff. You know, I believe she's just finished a UEFA Pro license, so certainly well qualified, certainly a lot of experience. You know, and given that we've been a wee bit concerned that somebody new is going to come in so late before the season, Leanne Crichton, if she's going to be the one that comes in, is going to know a lot of her squad, and quite importantly, know exactly what it takes to win the league.
Yeah, which is basically the important thing this year. I mean, there's no European football, so we don't have the distraction. Last year with the distraction of Arsenal, it was a nice distraction to have. Champions League would be great. Unfortunately, we're not there because of what happened at the end of the season. And as you say, Leanne Crichton is steeped in Scottish women's football. She knows, you know, she's played it, she's coached it, she's been assistant manager, she's been a pundit on it, she's been a pundit on the men's game. You know, so from that point of view, from the domestic point of view, she probably is the ideal candidate.
Absolutely, and she's got the European experience from playing there for a number of years with Glasgow City, so you know she'll be no stranger to that. Certainly, the levels are going up and up. You know, in the women's game, we can see that even the games we're going to. So certainly, I think it'll be a wee bit more chance of focus this season without the European adventure. I think that had a massive sort of negative impact on our season last year. Not even the extra games, because it was 2 extra games, but I think the hangover from it, you know, the massive bearing on the season. But I'm very excited to see us actually get started and get somebody in place. And if it's Leanne Crichton, I think the best thing we can do is exactly what we do with Russell Martin and get right behind him.
Yeah, I think as well it's going to be crucial who she has in the backroom team. I mean, Hadji's there just now. He took the team yesterday for the Middlesbrough game. I think he has to stick about the building because he knows the players know him. You know, Leanne will know him. She'll be well aware of who he is and what he's capable of doing. So hopefully, you know, some of the coaching stuff stick about the building because we're too close to the season for a complete overhaul. And because Leanne Crichton doesn't have managerial experience, she doesn't have a team behind her. You know, quite often the manager comes in, like Russell Martin came in and brought his team with him. Leanne Crichton doesn't have that team to bring with her.
No, she doesn't. You know, she may well bring one or two in. I think it didn't help us last year. There were so many changes to the coaching team, and it didn't happen all at once last season. You know, it was continual right through the season. A lot of people leaving and then coming in and working away in the background. But Hadji's worked with the Scotland under squads, and so's Leanne Crichton. So probably know each other very, very well. So that'll certainly be a good start. But be interesting, you know, she's new head coach, because I don't see it being a new manager. It's got to be a new head coach, especially we've brought in 2 new players before appointing a new boss. So I think she'll get a lot of support on that in terms of the recruitment side, and allow her to really focus on getting the best out the squad.
I'll let you answer that for Stephen. How's she supposed to win the league when she's got no experience? It's a fair enough question.
Well, certainly no experience as a manager, but you know she's been over the course as a player many times. You know, I need to go back and check the records, but I'm pretty sure Leanne Crichton's got a pocket full of league winners medals as a player. So certainly it's not the same as winning it as a manager and having that experience, but I like Rangers bringing in winners. I like Rangers bringing in people who have experience of winning trophies and have an armful of medals and trophies to show for their career.
Yep, and there's another question which we just touched on from Paul. Thoughts on the team so far? A lot of good players have left. Haven't seen much of the new players. To be honest, Paul, nobody's seen much of the new players. We've had one game, which was yesterday against Middlesbrough. So we'll just touch on that just now, Alan. We were both fortunate enough to be at the game. We sat together and watched it. The starting team against Middlesbrough was Jenna Fife in goal, Nick Docherty captain, Leah Eddy, Lily Boyce, Mia Macaulay, May Croft, Lizzie Arnott, Jodie McCleary, Laura Berry, Wilco, and Kirsty Howitt. That was a sort of probably as strong a start lineup as we could possibly have got, I would have thought.
Oh, definitely. I think we'd be reasonably happy with it. I think the biggest talking point for people was the players who were not in the squad. Obviously, nine players on the bench, and no sign of Rio Hardy, who we've got on it. No sign of Cathy Hill or Rafferty, Ellie Austin, Liv McLaughlin, who we saw was at the game. But you know, certainly more people still to come in. But very, very good to see so many of the young team involved. You know, I watched a lot of the players out on loan last year, and I very much hope some of them stick around this year and don't go back out on loan, because I do believe we've got young players that can contribute to this squad.
Yeah, I mean, Cathy and Liv are both still injured. Cathy had a knee operation, and I think Liv's still, a couple of weeks away, I think. But as for the rest of them, Rio looks like she's probably going to be leaving. The rest of them, we'll just have to wait and see. But, I mean, it was a cracking start to the game. I think it was something like 40 seconds. Wilco played the ball to Laura Berry, who cut it inside to Kirsty Howitt, who did what Kirsty Howitt did, and we were 1-0 up within a minute against a team who I thought were a lot better than they actually are. Boro are a lot further down the leagues than I thought. I thought they were possibly bottom end of the championship, maybe top end of the league below, but I think they're even lower than that. So as for quality of opposition, I'm not quite sure if we could possibly got better opposition, but I mean, you only beat what's in front of you.
Definitely, and I'm a big believer in you start at pre-season and then you build up and you ramp up in terms of your quality opposition. And we've got the legs going against Middlesbrough. You know, we've got some goals. Kirsty Howitt doing what Kirsty Howitt does. You know, some really good play from Laura Berry to hold it up. But that all came from a quick throw, you know, which I'm really keen on. You know, I really like to see us get the tempo up and get the ball back and play quickly. But good play by Laura Berry, good awareness of where Kirsty was. She took a touch, steadied herself and found the bottom corner, which, listen, if we score inside 60 seconds in every game, I'll be delighted with that sort of start.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you say, you know, it's nice to start easy and build up. The next two games against two of the best teams in Europe, so that's not really going that way. But anyway, that's another story. And then not long after that, we went 2-0 up. There was that Middlesbrough player went down while Rangers attacked. Middlesbrough player went down trying to clear the ball. I think the Middlesbrough defence seemed to stop, whereas Rangers kept playing, and the ball came out to Katie Wilkinson on the left hand side of the box, and she just rifled it into the corner, doing what she does.
I actually quite like that, you know, because it's too easy for just kick the ball out of play. You know, I'd very much like to see us have that bit of a meaner edge and play to a whistle. You know, and fair play for a referee, you know, stopping it. Clearly, it's not a head knock. You know, a player's not in any danger, and it's a really good through ball from deep by Nick Dock that found Katie, and she just found the near post. You know, keeper probably should cover a near post a wee bit better, but Kate Wilkinson hitting the back of net early in pre-season, you know, gets her going.
Yeah, I'm talking about hitting the net, but early in pre-season, Kirsty Howitt got her second and Rangers third after an assist from the very same Katie Wilkinson.
Yeah, she just managed to force the ball through to Kirsty again. She took a touch, composed herself, and fired it into back in net. You know, there was never any danger we weren't going to win this game, especially after the early goals. But 3-0 puts a wee bit of gloss on the first half score, and certainly could have been more. You know, Laura Berry had a couple of chances. You know, she probably maybe snatched that and wasn't quite sharp enough, but 3-0 at half time, I think, reasonably happy with that. Jumping on, Paul's asking about Sarah Ewens. An ACL injury, I'd expect we'll be lucky to see her this calendar year. Hopefully, she'll be looking to make a comeback, all being well, for the second half of the season.
Yeah, and I thought it was, I mean, just moving away from the game for a second, I thought it was brilliant that the club, you know, gave her a new contract because she was out of contract in the summer. And obviously she's still recovering from that horrendous injury. So it was good. I mean, it's good that the club didn't just cut her adrift and, you know, just gave her a new contract to continue her rehabilitation.
Yeah, definitely. I'm very happy the club are actually looking after players like that. You know, we can criticise the club for many things, but I think that's definitely something they deserve praise for. You know, and it's the right thing to do. But we also know that if you get Sarah Ewens fit, you know, she's a player that can contribute and make a difference as well.
Yep, 100%. Talking about making a difference, there was a couple of substitutions at half, so 3 substitutions at half time yesterday. Sophie Black came on, Brogan Hay came on, and it was a debut for Fallon Connolly Jackson, and they replaced Leah Eddy. Let's have a look at this. Mia McCauley, who I thought was very quiet in the first half, and Katie Wilkinson. So it was great to see Sophie Black getting some decent minutes. Obviously, Brogan, we know what she can do, and it was great to see Fallon as well.
Definitely. So Sophie had a couple of games at the start of last season for us, and didn't look out of place coming on off the bench, but went and spent most of the season on loan at Motherwell. Played a lot of football. You know, scored a few goals from midfield as well. You know, and was clearly very well thought of. So she's got a chance to make an impact in pre-season. You know, and put her hand up and say, keep me here. I can take a place in the squad of Kirsten McLean and Chelsea Cornett, Charlie Devlin, who we brought in on loan last year and is away. So there's places up for grabs for players, like Sophie Black and Maycroft, who played about 70 minutes yesterday and was absolutely tremendous.
May actually played nearly 80 minutes, she's taken off in the 79th minute, according to the tweets from Rangers. But she was my player of the match yesterday. I thought she was absolutely superb. When she ran that midfield, I thought she was really, really good yesterday. But we went into the second half, with those three substitutes, and straight away Brogan Hayes into the action, giving the ball to Laura Berry, who has another shot saved by the goalkeeper when she probably should have scored, but it came back to her, and rather than snatching at it, she rolled it into Kirsty Howitt, who had the easiest of jobs of completing a hat-trick. So I thought it was great from Laura just to keep the composure, not just snatch at the rebound and give it to her strike partner.
Yeah, for as much as maybe Laura was snatching at our chances a wee bit, our composure and our general play was excellent. What Laura played 90 minutes yesterday, and a really good to see her involved and play so much in the game. And our link-up play is just getting better all the time. I think she just needs a couple of goals and she'll just settle down a wee bit in front of goal. And she'll score for fun for Rangers. I've absolutely no doubt about that. And it was good to see that she wasn't putting her head down after the keeper made a couple of saves. And as you said, that composure to just take a rebound and lay it off to Kirsty and not just try and snatch at another chance shows a lot of maturity for a young player.
Yeah, it does. I mean, a lot of strikers would have been, well, I'm just, the game's out of sight, I haven't scored yet, I'm going to have a bash at this. So it did show an awful lot of maturity and composure, and it was great. Nice to see Kirsty getting off for the hat-trick. Then another couple of substitutions we brought on Townsley and Bandura for Howitt and Arnott. So, Lizzie went off. Lizzie did okay. I thought the ball, especially in the first half, we played the ball over the top of their right back quite a lot to Lizzie. I thought that paid dividends quite a few times, especially in the first half of the game. And obviously Kirsty Howitt getting a hat trick. You can't ask for more than that. So that was, they had a good hour. And then those two substitutes combined for Bandura to make it 5-0.
Yeah, so Sophie Townsley is a tremendous young player who had an unbelievable season at Hamilton last year, scoring over 20 goals from the left wing. So she's come on, taking on a full back, getting the ball across, and ricocheted a wee bit, and on the second attempt, Natalie Bandura's found the top corner. First time in the first team. She is from a youth academy, Paul. I believe she's a Polish youth international, so I could be corrected on that, but I'm pretty certain that she's represented Poland at youth level, and just to see her get the goal was brilliant. It was something really good to see, because we all like young players coming through and being a success.
Yep, and then Laura Berry finally gets her goal to wrap up the scoring. Again, great work from Maycroft and also from Sophie Black, who put the ball through to Laura, and as I say, finally she managed to get her goal after having one or two chances, and obviously been involved in a couple of the goals as well.
Definitely, I think Laura Berry's a player that demands a lot for herself, and you can always tell that she's frustrated if she's not found the score sheet, and I love to see that. It's brilliant to see a striker so desperate to score, but also have the nous to be a team player. So some strikers can get too greedy and make bad choices, but I think Laura just needs a couple of goals, and her composure will improve in front of goal, and Laura Berry is capable of scoring Katie Wilkinson numbers.
Yeah, and as you said just before we went live, it's absolutely brilliant to see so many of the young players that have been out on loan last season involved in the game yesterday, and actually participating and being involved in stuff, not just being on the pitch, but actually being involved in stuff.
Definitely, one person who's not really mentioned was Lily Boyce at the back. Lily Boyce had a tremendous game at back.
She was outstanding yesterday.
Absolutely fantastic, and even at the end of the game, we're playing a back four, and Lily Boyce was the senior player, as young Rebecca Simpson came on to partner at the back, and our reading of the game was excellent. Our positioning, and our damage control at the back was brilliant. And 6 months at Queen's Park is certainly done Lonely Boys a lot of good.
Yeah, and there's Paul asked a question earlier on, because Paul's always good with the questions. Who's the other keeper that's training? I'm assuming that he's referring to Telma, who was on the bench yesterday. And personally, when I said at the time, I can't believe we didn't change goalkeepers at half time, because the game's done. You might as well give both goalkeepers a run out.
Yeah, that one surprised me. It might be just a wee bit of loading, because Telma would have had a wee bit extra time off after being away at the Euros. It might be down to that. It might just be wanting to give the keepers 90 minutes at a time. But Paul, I think, is probably talking about Megan Cunningham. Megan's still at Rangers, technically still part-time, because she's got a full-time job as a firefighter. But she's still at Rangers, I believe, helps out with coaching as well. But hasn't actually played for Rangers for about 4 years.
She was on loan at Partick Thistle, wasn't she? Was it Thistle she was at? She was at loan somewhere.
Yeah, I think 2 years ago she spent most of the season on loan at Partick. So she was actually playing. But I think it's maybe the title-winning season the last time Megan actually played for us.
Yeah. There you go. As Paul saying, think that it is. And I actually thought Megan had left the club last summer, but there you go. Shows how much attention I'm paying. So other news, going back to news that broke during the summer. Other news that broke, Alan, is the club announced that they're going to be playing most of the games at Ibrox if they can, if there's not fixture clashes with the men's first team. So to that end, when I was wandering about yesterday with my microphone, I asked the same 4 people what they thought about us playing at Ibrox. Oh, I want to think of this to work.
Because what we did at Fir Park, we got like 4,000 people there. If we can get that and start growing the fan base, it'd be fantastic for the players to experience what the men get, like 40,000 people, 50,000 at a game. I know that may not get there now, but it'd be great to gradually grow up over time.
Ibrox is going to be a big boost. However, we need to get the crowds in first. I think if we can fill Broadwood where we're at the moment, then we could pretty much go for it and take it from there. Build the crowd, and then Ibrox maybe further down the line is a definite, but at the moment it's a 60-50, 60-40.
Hopefully the girls play better there and they get used to the surface. It'll be good for the fans and players.
Ibrox, I'm not too happy with it. It's a bit iffy, but the only way we'll get experience is by playing there. So we just need to take it as it comes every game and hope that we learn from the last couple of seasons. Playing at Ibrox is a big thing and it needs to be done.
So there we go, Alan. Again, mixed opinions. It'll be good. It'll be good for the girls. We should be building up the crowd at Broadwood first. Personally, I think Ibrox is great because it's easier for me to get to. Although Broadwood's closer to me, Ibrox is better if I'm doing public transport, which I do sometimes. Because Broadwood is a bit kind of out the way, and it's a great opportunity to take kids to Ibrox when it's not, 40, 50,000 in the ground. However, we keep saying that we've moved a couple of games at the end of last season. Great, take the kids along, and then Rangers get beat. You know what I mean? That's you said yourself. It's either it should be all or nothing at Ibrox. Either play most of the games or don't play any. So I think the fact that we've committed to play most of the games, and that'll obviously depend greatly what the men do. Because if the men end up in the Europa League, there's not going to be a lot of women's games getting played at Ibrox, I wouldn't imagine.
Well, I did have a look at it after they announced, and I think there's only 4 weekends where there's a potential fixture clash between now and Christmas. Obviously, you might get 1 or 2 extra with cup draws, but we'll see how that works. Obviously, games might get moved for TV, but one thing it might actually help it'll put the club more in control of kick-off times. Playing at shared grounds, and community facilities like Broadwood. Sometimes you're dictated as to when the pitch is available and the dressing rooms are available. So nobody else is playing at Ibrox other than us. So we could have steadier kick-off times, be it 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. That would probably help grow the crowd a wee bit more. There'll be a wee bit concern if people want to use public transport, and on a Sunday the game kicks off at 4 o'clock and then people have to rush out to try and get the last subway that closes early on a Sunday. So certainly I think that we'll see more regular earlier kickoffs on a Sunday. But absolutely delighted that most of the games, if not all of them, will be at Ibrox, because, as you said, I've already said before, I think the only way the players will properly start putting on real performances here is to feel at home.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there was the occasion towards the end of last season. I think it was Motherwell at Broadwood. It kicked off at 6 o'clock because there was a BMX event on in the car park. I mean, that's ludicrous. You know what I mean? You're asking people to turn up at that time of night on a Sunday. And you're trying to promote getting kids to games, and 6 o'clock kick off. You're not out the ground before 8. Kids like to see the players. They're not out the ground before 8:30. They're not home before. You know what I mean? It just doesn't make a lot of sense. So that's not something I thought of. But you're right. Rangers will have more. Be able to dictate more the kickoff times and things, And to Paul's point here, if we get a chance in the future, ask someone from the club to promote the women's team more, and if possible, put it on RTV or stream it. That's something they used to do when we played at the training centre. They streamed every game from memory when we played when the home base was a training centre. So hopefully, Alan, now that majority of the games are at Ibrox, they can find a way of putting them on either Rangers TV or streaming it on YouTube. I can't see them streaming it on YouTube because they put it on RTV and make money out of it.
Definitely, and I think when you're trying to grow the crowd so much, it's always a catch-22. You'd rather people go to the games as opposed to just sit in the house and watch it. But there's a lot of people would very much like to watch a women's team that can't make the games and would like to be able to watch it. I'd even like that we put more extended highlights on our TV at the very least, or the game on a delay, and then people could go and watch it back. If I feel like we've certainly got a facility. It's certainly not a league restriction, because other clubs in the league broadcast their games live on YouTube or the club channels. So it's very much a club choice. It is something that gets fed back to the club regularly. There's certainly enough people and listening at the games, so it's certainly something that's regularly fed back, but it's not easy to make happen.
Yeah, we've said before, or I've certainly said before, but it mystifies me because they obviously they record every game, because we'll get decent highlights of every single match wherever it is, and why they can't stream it. I get the logistics of some of them, like the cup game that was up at West Hill. You probably couldn't have streamed that live. That would have been ridiculous from there. But from an actual stadium where at some point in the season there is live TV broadcasts, then there must be the facility to stream the game live, and it won't cost that much. You don't necessarily need to have a commentator. I know Hearts do theirs without commentators. I'm pretty sure Spartans do as well. I don't think they've got commentators either. I mean Hearts. I've got that. They've just basically got an iPhone on top of a bit of scaffolding above the dugouts. You know what I mean? Because it's always interesting, because you can hear every word the manager say, which is quite interesting. And there's Hutchie Allen with a question. What of the grounds? What do you think the players would choose? For me, I think, given that a majority of our players are Rangers fans, they choose Ibrox every day of the week.
I think even for surface alone, they'll choose Ibrox. Broadwood. Listen, it's a decent wee setup at Broadwood, but our pitch is definitely seen better days, and I think the players getting a chance to go on the lush grass at Ibrox, they'll certainly choose that. They'll certainly need a lot of energy. It's definitely a bigger pitch. It's bigger than any of the pitches in use elsewhere in the league. So certainly take a bit of getting used to, but I really believe the only way we'll get used to it is playing there regularly.
Yeah, no, I agree with that 100%. I thought a couple of times yesterday at Broadwood, the ball did very, very strange things, even for it being Broadwood. So, I don't think the pitch is particularly great, and it's probably getting worse. And they're playing more football than ever on it. Because Hamilton are playing there now, and Cumbernauld Colts are still there, and you know what I mean. There's loads and loads of football getting played on it. So the more games we can play at Ibrox, for me, the better. and I just love going to Ibrox, so that's probably the reason for that. So I did another thing when I was out and about yesterday, because I thought might as well make having a wee microphone with me, make use of it. And the same 4 people that I asked the other questions to, I asked them for their aspirations of the season. So before we go to them, Alan, what are you looking for out of this season that's just coming round the corner?
League title. You know, anything less than a league title is quite honestly not good enough. I appreciate that, you know, the women's team is a bit different to the men's team in terms of we're still trying to build and develop that expectation, that standards. You know, whereas with men's team we've obviously been used to growing up with that standard, and we're trying to sort of recover that. The women's team we're still trying to grow that and build that, but as Rangers, anything less than league title is quite simply not good enough. And I very much do want to treble like Paul, but I wouldn't be upset if it was 1 cup plus the title, because we've won the title once and didn't get the cups. So certainly winning the title plus at least 1 cup would make it a more successful season this women's side have ever had.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to get the treble as well, but we'll have to lose a cup tie sometime. And we've won what, three League Cups in a row, 2 Scottish Cups in a row, so something has to give sometime. But let's hear from our people that were brave enough to speak to me yesterday.
Simple as that, treble.
Thoughts on the upcoming season? Again, with the manager coming in, it's going to be difficult. It's going to be good to see. However, we've lost quite a few good players, and I think with the players, we really need to get some really good players back. We've lost maybe 6 players, and they've not been filled. The positions haven't been filled yet, so therefore we really need to get it going and kick-start the season pretty much on a good footing, and break down the smaller teams as well.
Every year we say go for the treble, so I have to say go for the treble.
For the season, I'm not sure. I think if we had a manager in place and a bit of feedback for the club, what was going on, a bit more confident. But Rangers through and through, so you need to have faith and just hope that the shows they can do it this season.
There we go. So quite a lot of the treble. It's just it's the Rangers in us, Alan, isn't it?
Listen, it is, and we're a tough crowd to play in front of. We always have been, and we always will be. But even anybody that watched the celebrations last night as England won the Euros again, it just makes you yearn for getting back to those celebrations ourselves. You know, it's been far too long since we were there all together amongst friends and family celebrating Rangers winning titles. So, you know, I'm desperate for that to be this season.
Yeah, I'm 100% the same. But I'd love to win. I'd love to win the cups again. But for me, I would sacrifice a treble just to win the league. It would be great if we could win the whole lot. There's JD. Where have you been? Paul's been missing you, JD. There you go. Catch up later. Good evening, JD. Nice of you to join us. Just in time to see Alan because Alan's doing a double header today, I believe. I think he's on again at 7:30. So we'll cut this a bit shortly. Give Alan time to go and wash his hair before the 7:30 pod comes on. But no, as you say, you know, winning the league has to be, you know.
Listen, you compared last year in the league, we scored an absolute barload of goals with a pretty generous early run of games before Europe. But I've got the first 5 league fixtures in front of me. You know, we start away at Montrose, then we're back at Ibrox against Hearts, which will be a big test. I'm not sure where the game against Motherwell will be, given it's the same day as Old Firm Day. But I doubt that'll be at Ibrox. I'd expect that'll be back at Broadwood. Now we have our own Old Firm. You know, we're away at New Douglas Park before being away at Partick Thistle, Peters Hill Park. So that's a very tough start to the season. And it'll be very interesting to see where we are 5 games into the season.
Yep, so right, so there you go. There, Paul, we're just always the same. We're just ready to wrap up, and Paul hits us with a question. So, Alan, going back to Leanne Crichton, assuming that she is getting the gig, because it seems that she is getting the gig, what players do you think she could attract? So basically, what Paul's asking is Leanne Crichton going to go and steal all the talent from Glasgow City?
Possibly. You know, I certainly think that Leanne Crichton knows enough about the Scottish game to know exactly what's needed. So as long as Leanne Crichton's bringing players in with the right qualities, you know, and the right mentality and tenacity to play in Scotland, and not just play in Scotland, but play for Rangers in Scotland. You know, I think if it's going to be Leanne, like everybody's reporting, then I think she'll bring players in. It'll make her a success.
There's JD with the one that's going to come out quite a lot. Someone that played with that lot. We've got plenty of players that played for that lot playing for us, JD. So, you know,
yeah, it's not quite as uncommon in the women's game as it has been in the men's game. You know, it's very few examples in the men's game, and there's probably more examples in their squad than there ever has been in the men's team.
and there's JD admitting he's just bitter. JD, you will never, ever be as bitter as me. There you go. There you go. I am the bitterest man in the world. And going with what Martin said earlier in one of the pods, he's quite a bitter man as well. One of the daily pods. I can't remember which one, whether it was the morning show or the afternoon rabble. And there's Paul not guessing that JD is good. But anyway, let's not turn this into JD and Paul show. Alan, we'll call it there. We'll be back next week. Hopefully we'll have a full crew next week. Demi will still be missing because she's still away for another 2 or 3 weeks yet. Hopefully Brian's got his laptop sorted out.
Or at least a laptop from the golf.
Yeah, or access to Wi-Fi that works, because the golf clubs clearly doesn't. Hopefully Carl's cat gets the okay at the vet and everything's okay on that score. Because I know pets are very, very worrying when there's something wrong with them. Alan, thanks very much. I'll let you go and, as I say, do your hair before you come back on at 7:30. Don't forget, folks, 18 minutes time, Alan's back along with Posh, Stewart and the boss on the Monday night rabble. Loads for them to talk about the men's game. Feel free to throw them in questions about the women's game. And there's JD saying, I'll catch you again in 15 minutes, Alan. I'm going to reintroduce myself to my missus, seeing as I haven't seen her all weekend. So
tell her hello.
And then I'm disappearing tomorrow night over to Athens for a couple of days. So, you know what I mean? So I'll need to spend time with her while I can. So thanks to everybody in the comments. Thanks for everybody that watched and is too shy to comment. If you're new to the Women's Pod, thanks very much for coming along. We'll see you every Monday at 6:30, unless it's an international break, and then we take a wee break as well. So, Alan, enjoy yourself at 7:30, pal. I'll speak to you soon.
I'll do my best and enjoy Greece. Hope your team wins.
I will. I hope our team wins, mate.